I review movie previews.
What's up, good movie lovers? Happy New Year 2011, and welcome to a movie review for True Grit. As usual, the movie reviews are filled with spoilers, and we'll be given our rating ahead of time, just so you kind of know what we think if you should see it or not, and then we'll get into spoilers and details and all that. Jonas, True Grit, how would you rate it? Worthy of big screen? See it on the big screen?
See it on the big screen, sure. I'd pay full price. I would
Full
see
price?
it, on a Friday night or Saturday night. It's a good movie, and it deserves our money.
Yeah.
So more good movies get made.
I'm definitely in this absolutely same boat. So Coen Brothers doing a Western.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Coen Brothers are pretty good about tackling different genres. They got film noir with The Man Who Wasn't There, and they did, they've done comedy and slapstick comedy, and they did a great gangster movie, Miller's Crossing. If you haven't seen, go get Miller's Crossing.
Kind of a forgotten little gem that they did.
That's one of my all-time faves.
Gabriel Byrne, right?
Yeah, and just some amazing dialogue. And they kind of do some great dialogue in this too. It is basically the author's dialogue put to screen with a few Coen-y twists. The humor comes from the characters. It's very character driven, and it comes out of this. I love that. In most westerns, they talk like we do. They talk completely as we would talk now, and they don't do that. They have this very peculiar dialect and way of phrasing things, and way and syntax and the way they talk things. You have to kind of like train your ear to follow it, but it's really entertaining and really rewarding.
Yeah, it's interesting because like they're not really that educated, but they kind of speak they use big words,
right?
And it's got like that kind of religious kind of influence going on. Like they go to church and kind of hear the words in the Bible. Rooster Colburn, right? That's the main character's name. Jeff Cogburn.
Yeah.
Rooster Cogburn. Jeff Bridges.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting his performance, dude. He was really great.
Really? You were expecting that? I love Bridges, man.
Yeah,
it's the dude.
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect, I guess, and it was great. I mean, his character was really interesting and pretty memorable.
Well, and he was a heel. He was he was a drunken lout, and he was great. He was just almost irredeemable until the very end, and that's what made the ending so powerful.
Yeah, and just the Coen Brothers do these really nice things in all their movies where they just leave the camera on the character for a little bit longer, and they catch kind of his personality, like when he's testifying in court and he tells a joke,
right?
And then he knows that he hears the laughs, and he kind of like looks. He's like, oh, I got the crowd on my side.
He's got this self-satisfied like smirk on his face. Yeah, they capture those real moments of people reacting to themselves and people reacting to what's going on around them.
How about the girl here?
She was phenomenal. She's going to be nominated.
Stole the show.
Yeah, she was great, and she really is 14. I think or 15. She's right at that age. I think she was actually 13 when they did it. So whereas in the original movie, that actress was 22.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and our actress here is of age, and she's great in it. She's just wonderful.
I'm trying to remember like a character that age that's kind of been the focal point of a movie like that, and has that much dialogue and really a strong character like that. It's pretty impressive. I wasn't expecting that. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she did an amazing job. Well written, and for me, it's like there's not a lot of strong female characters in that kind of way. Like usually, female characters kind of use their sexuality to kind of like be the character.
That's true, and she didn't use any sexuality at all. It was
Yeah.
completely not a non-sexual portrayal. It was all about her intellect and her determination.
Yeah, and in some ways, it's like a coming of age for her, where it's like she really wants to go on this journey. I like the scene where there's like the river and Roosters left her to go with Matt Damon, the Texas Ranger, who's another great character.
Who's a great character, right?
Like that was such a great like tongue-in-cheek role. I don't know. It's just
well, talk about also capturing the personality. He has this great moment where he very self-consciously flashes his Texas Ranger badge. With this like I'm hot. Like and everyone picks up on it. Everyone laughs. The girl picks up on it. Like what a douchey move it is,
Absolutely. And just like him and Rooster, the banter going on between them is funny.
They both have major backstory that's just kind of alluded to very briefly in a very brief conversation. They talk about what they were doing during the Civil War.
Right.
And it's only, and you briefly get a sense that Rooster was with some not too reputable people.
Okay.
And you also catch later a toss-off line that, he robbed banks.
Kind of a mercenary for hire sort of guy.
Yeah.
Just because he has a badge doesn't mean he's exactly an enforcer of the law.
Yeah.
Or what do they say? Like, to be a good cop, you got to be part criminal? Something like that? Yeah, so. That scene where she has to go with her pony across the river to join them on the journey, it's kind of a nice little visual of, like, she's making this choice. She's a person who's willing to to risk. You know, she's adventurous, so I kind of like that aspect of her character. It kind of trailed off a little bit in terms of like being totally her journey. Like, because basically the story is, her father gets killed by some criminal dude, and no one wants to do anything about it. So she's ambitious, or she's got money, and she's like, hey, I want to pay someone.
She wants justice. She wants vengeance.
She wants justice. Old style Western justice.
Right.
So she hires Rooster, and they go off and they start trying to find this guy. And she's all about like, I want to kill this guy. I want to kill this guy. And a lot of times in movies, it'll get to the point where she can kill him, and she's like, "Oh, I've learned the lesson
no, she
of-"
shoots him. She sees him in his sights, and she shoots him. Yeah. And it's only because the gun jams, so she got wet, that she doesn't kill him. I mean, she has the opportunity, and she doesn't get a chance to.
Yeah, so she's pretty ruthless. She's like, I'm gonna do this, you know? And there was this earlier scene where she sleeps in the morgue, but they kind of cut away from her sleeping. And I kind of thought that it would have been nice if, like, they would have just shown a little more, like, her kind of sleeping there and looking at the dead bodies to kind of know, just to show her thinking about what she wants to happen to a human being.
That's really interesting. I thought that would be a nice added scene.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, maybe they just stuck really close to the source material and they were like, this is how it goes, so we're not going to kind of mess with it. But have you seen the original?
I have not. I have not seen the original. I haven't read the original book. All I know about this movie is this movie.
Yeah.
So I really can't speak on anything outside of that.
Because it's like I was picturing John Wayne. John Wayne, to me, doesn't seem like someone who would make his lines funny or like come off the way Jeff Bridges came off. So I'm kind of wondering how different, you know, Jeff Bridges' portrayal was of this one.
We talk about the great dialogue in Miller's Crossing. There's a great dialogue in this kind of dialect in Fargo, and they also do an "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" This very kind of stylized 20s, like what people were talking about that back then. And Holly Hunter's character keeps saying this thing about her current husband, like, he's bona fide, and it's like, what the does that mean? Like, what is bona fide? But that obviously, it's those kinds of very specific words and very specific phrasings that show up in this movie.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't hear anywhere else. Phrasing is very much like the Old West. It's not like what we would talk about today.
Right.
I like that they did not shy away from the realities of the Old West. First of all, there's a scene where Bridges' character, he sees some Indian kids, some Native American kids, he just kicks them.
Yeah.
He just like knocks them off the porch. And it's played for laughs, and it's not done for any other reason than he obviously hates Native Americans. He hates Indians.
Racism and violence.
Right.
Yeah.
And like there's a quick little scene where they're giving these condemned murderers, these thieves, like their last words, and these two guys give their last words, and then they go to the Native American guy, and he starts to, and they just throw the hood over his head and just like hang him without any chance. Yeah. And then there's also two slave characters, which are not romanticized or given any like kind of sly postmodern like winks or nods at the camera. They're played very straight, and the Coen Brothers don't try to dress that up at all or make it something it's not.
It's almost like the camera just kind of appeared and is invisible and is capturing this reality.
Right.
And no one knows they're being watched.
Right.
You know, and no one's playing it up, or it's not being kind of stylized for entertainment
Well, what
purposes.
I think a lot about when I think about like modern westerns is like, you ever seen Maverick, which is, not a great movie, but a fun movie.
It's totally fun, yeah.
And it really has this very like kind of postmodern silliness where Maverick is like really good friends with the Native Americans. The Native Americans are very very modern and very like they think the whole thing's very funny, and they're very tongue-in-cheek, and they do this whole fake spirit quest to bilk like aristocrats, European aristocrats out of their money and stuff, and they're all kind of con men, and they're played for laughs, and that's funny. It's funny to modern audiences, and it kind of like gives us this kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge with like, oh, those stupid like people in the past, they thought Native Americans were all special and spiritual and different when really they're just like us. Well, no, they weren't just like us.
Yeah.
That's a modern conceit. That's a modern idea. That's not how things were. And the same thing with slaves. And like they would not have like today's attitude, but just back then.
Right.
It was a different society. And so the Coen Brothers played that straight, which I really liked. I really thought that was cool.
Yeah, and I think that kind of fed into the whole notion of, in terms of like her like character journey, usually if you're just thinking up this story of, okay, I want this person to go through these steps, life isn't necessarily going to give you a crescendo. Life isn't going to give you the big climax.
Right.
And there weren't any big kind of, here are the set piece moments. It's just kind of like, okay, here's how it goes. We get off the trail. This ambush gets messed up. And when she finally shoots the guy or he dies, it's not like some, Dirty Harry final line of like, "No, I get my revenge on my father," or anything like that, or say hello to someone in hell or whatever. You know, it's just kind of like, okay, the dude died, and the criminal turns out to be an idiot.
Which is another great part. Yeah, Matt Damon has got this whole thing like, he's a mastermind, and like, he's eluded me so many times. And so, you know, and she says, well, I thought he was kind of an idiot, but he paints him like, no, he's actually really crafty. He's got all the aliases. He's an idiot.
Yeah, totally.
I love it when he says, like, got shot by a little girl, nothing's going right. Man, my life sucks.
Yeah, and it's just all character-based comedy. And the Coen, like Fargo, also one of the funniest movies, in that just character kind of, we are who we are, and just because of our decisions, these situations happen, and it's funny, but it's sad, and it's tragic. Right. Same thing, just like the characters are being who they are. You know, there's no market influence of like, this character worked well in this movie and that movie made $100 million, so we want to see more of this. It's just like, no, here's who we're going to create.
Right.
Here's how they speak. Here's how they act. And just watching this movie, it's a lot of stuff you've never seen before because the characters are being authentic and it's just being true to itself instead of trying to play up to some kind of marketability or some notions of what audiences would want to see and go back for, and you know, they'd make money. And this has made over $100 million already.
Yeah, well, yeah, people
for a Western,
and
amazing, dude, crazy.
Well, the other people are responding. People are responding to good cinema, and there's a dearth of that. There's people want to see good movies. So when something gets good reviews, you know, people do. I mean, if it's like, you know, the Coen Brothers do have a certain name recognition just because of their Best Picture awards that I think other directors might not have.
Yeah.
Especially directors as weird as the Coen Brothers. We came in the movie, this group of people came in. They came in right after it started. It was after the scene where the animal doctor who's wearing the bear skin they have that interaction, and they left. It was just too weird for them, like, and they couldn't handle it. They didn't know what was going on, so that was really funny.
Yeah, they're like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, seriously, every time Rooster said a line towards the middle and the end, it was like a punchline, but not an intentional punchline where he's like, go up on the tree and cut him down. I might know him.
Right.
She cuts him down, and he looks at him. I do not know this man. And it's just like...
it was just Froud comes out of his character. And the other thing I like about the Coen, with this movie and the Coen Brothers, when we talk about naturalism, when you talk about reality, the violence in Coen Brothers movies comes out of the blue, is not stylized, is not pretty, is not entertaining. It just happens.
Yeah.
And it happened here where Jeff Bridges is interviewing the two guys in the cabin, and the one guy doesn't want the other one to talk, and they're kind of playing good cop, bad cop with him and like trying to talk to him, and he just grabs a knife and just cuts his fingers off and then stabs him in the chest, and then and Jeff Bridges shoots them both, and it's not fun. It's just, it just happens, and it's ugly, you know, and it's... They lose that towards the end with that final shootout where he's charging at them on the horse. That's very cinematic.
Like that's the big, because earlier he's like, I once charged guys on a horse with two guns. Then you're kind of like, oh, is this a setup for like the end or whatever?
Yeah, and it totally is. But yeah, that one scene though, and like the scene where they've got the ambush where Matt Damon gets caught up in the middle of it, he's getting dragged around, tied to the horse. That's not pretty. It's a lot of chaos and people running around and they're firing and not hitting anything. Yeah. You know.
And I like that they made him bite his lip and his tongue, so he had to talk like that weird kind of for like a little while. It's like, that would happen, and that's interesting to hear that. Not gonna be a big Oscar movie, maybe the performances.
I think definitely the girl gets nominated. Very possibly Jeff Bridges gets nominated. Are they still doing the thing where there's like 10 Best Picture nominations?
There's 10, they might throw this
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been such a weak year for movies, it might get nominated just because of that, because there's not that many other great movies out there. Like, you know, was it one of the top 15 movies this year? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But there also weren't very many movies this year.
So just well-made, Coen Brothers proven that they know what they're doing, and every year they come out with something quality. I'd love to see them do like a superhero movie or an action movie. You know, I want to bring their skills to like a big budget something, you know, and see how that would be. I don't know what would fit their tone or their, you know.
Well, you know, we got Michelle Gondry doing Green Hornet, so anything's possible, I guess.
So whatever's out there that's left, whatever property needs.
Yeah, Coen Brothers do The Flash or something. Yeah. The Coen Brothers do Aquaman.
Wonder Woman, Aquaman or something. Absolutely worthy. Coen Brothers come through.
The blog continues, zenandtheartofwaitering.blogspot.com. Become a friend at facebook.com/zenandtheartofwaitering. As always, you can download a free sample of the book, Zen and the Art of Waitering, at smashwords.com/books/view/13249. And if you're hiring any kind of freelance writer, feel free to contact me for anything whatsoever.
And all links to Jonas's work are provided in the description area. So until next time, choose your movies wisely because StoryCorp always gives us more of what we pay for. And until next time, long live good movies.